Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a heartwarming story that'll tug at your emotions and keep you hooked. It's about two sisters, Amara and Lily, growing up in a small Ohio town, facing questions about family, identity, and love that transcends differences. This tale spans years, filled with joy, pain, and a journey to find truth. Grab a cozy blanket, maybe some tissues, and let's jump into A Family Beyond Color. The sun hung low over Willow Creek, Ohio, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was a warm summer evening in 2013, and the small town buzzed with the kind of quiet energy you only find in places where everyone knows your name. Kids rode bikes down Main Street, sprinklers hissed in front yards, and the smell of barbecues floated through the air. In the backyard of a modest two-story house, two 5-year-old girls chased each other through the grass, their laughter echoing. Like music, Amara, with her tight black curls bouncing, darted around a swing set, her brown eyes sparkling with mischief. She wore a bright yellow sundress, a little too big, hand-me-down from a neighbor. Lily, her blonde hair tied in a messy ponytail, trailed just behind, giggling as she tried to catch her sister. Her blue eyes matched the sky, and her freckled cheeks were flushed from the chase. To anyone watching, they were just two kids playing, sisters in every way that mattered, even if their skin told a different story. "Gotcha," Lily shouted, grabbing Amara's arm. They tumbled into the grass, rolling and laughing until they were breathless. "No fair," Amara squealed, poking Lily's side. "You're faster." "Only 'cause you keep tripping," Lily teased, sticking out her tongue. Inside the house, David Bennett watched from the kitchen window, a smile tugging at his lips. He was a broad-shouldered man, pushing 40, with lines around his eyes from years as a firefighter. His sandy hair was starting to gray, but his laugh was still young. Next to him, Laura, his wife, chopped vegetables for dinner, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from a long shift at the hospital. Her dark hair was pulled into a bun, and her green eyes softened as she glanced at the girls. "They're gonna wear themselves out before dinner," Laura said, shaking her head, but smiling. "Let 'em," David replied, leaning against the counter. "They're happy. That's what counts." The Bennett's home was small but warm, filled with mismatched furniture, family photos, and the clutter of a life well lived. On the fridge, drawings by Amara and Lily hung side by side. Stick figures of their family with David's firefighter helmet and Laura's stethoscope sketched in crayon. To the outside world, they were an ordinary family. But in Willow Creek, where folks noticed everything, Amara's dark skin and Lily's pale complexion raised eyebrows. David and Laura brushed off the whispers, focusing on their girls, but the questions were starting to reach Amara's ears. At Willow Creek Elementary, the girls were in the same kindergarten class. All was together. They shared a lunch table, swapped snacks, and teamed up for every game at recess. Amara was the bolder one, quick to speak up, while Lily was quieter, always watching out for her sister. Their teacher, Mrs. Thompson, adored them, calling them the Sunshine Twins for their bright smiles, but not everyone was so kind. That afternoon, as the girls sat on the swings during recess, a group of kids gathered nearby. Tommy, a freckled boy with a loud mouth, pointed at Amara. "Hey, how come your mom and dad are white?" he asked, his tone more curious than cruel. "You don't look like them," Amara frowned, gripping the swing's chains. "They're my mom and dad," she said firmly. "That's how families are." Another kid, Jenny, chimed in, her voice sharp. "Nuh-uh. My mom says kids look like their parents. You're not like them." Lily slid off her swing, standing in front of Amara like a shield. "Stop it, Jenny. You're being mean." "I'm not mean," Jenny shot back. "It's just true. She doesn't belong with them." Amara's chest tightened. She'd heard whispers before, neighbors talking, people staring at the grocery store. But this was different. The words stung, sharp and cold, like a pebble in her shoe. She looked at Lily, hoping her sister would say something to make it better, but Lily just grabbed her hand. "Come on," Lily said, pulling her toward the slide. "They're just dumb." But the words stuck with Amara. all through class as Mrs. Thompson read a story about a lost puppy. Amara's mind wandered. Why didn't she look like Mom and Dad? Why did her skin make people ask questions? She glanced at Lily, coloring a picture across the table, and felt a mix of love and confusion. Lily was her sister, her best friend, but even she couldn't. Answer this. That evening, after dinner, the girls sprawled on the living room rug, playing with a pile of stuffed animals. David was in the recliner, flipping through a firefighting magazine, while Laura washed dishes. Amara, usually chatty, was quiet, stacking blocks with a faraway look. Lily noticed, scooting closer. "You okay?" Lily asked, nudging her with a stuffed bear. Amara hesitated, then looked up at David and Laura. "Why don't I look like you?" she blurted, her voice small but clear. The room went still. Laura froze, a dish in her hands, and David lowered his magazine, his eyes meeting his wife's. Lily tilted her head, confused, but stayed quiet, sensing something big. Laura dried her hands and knelt beside Amara, her smile gentle but strained. "What made you ask that, sweetheart?" "Kids at school," Amara said, her lip trembling. "They said I can't be your kid 'cause I'm different." David set his magazine down and joined them on the rug, his big hands resting on his knees. "Amara, you're our daughter," he said, his voice steady. "No matter what anyone says." "But why am I different?" Amara pressed, her brown eyes searching their faces. Laura took a deep breath, glancing at David. They'd always known this day would come, but not so soon. Amara was only 5, too young for the full story, but too smart to accept half answers. David nodded slightly, a silent agreement. "Amara," Laura said, taking her small hand, "you're special to us in a way that's hard to explain right now. But we chose you, and we love you, just like we love Lily." Amara frowned, not satisfied. "But why's my skin dark?" Lily piped up, her voice bright. "It's cool, like chocolate. Mine's like vanilla. We're like ice cream." Amara giggled despite herself, but the question lingered in her eyes. David pulled her onto his lap, his voice soft. "You're our family, kiddo. That's what matters. Okay?" Amara nodded, leaning into him, but the confusion didn't vanish. She hugged Lily, feeling safe, but still wondering. As the girls went back to their game, Laura whispered to David, "We'll have to tell her soon." David nodded, his jaw tight. "When she's ready." That night, as Amara lay in bed, Lily asleep in the bunk above her, she stared at the glow in the dark stars on the ceiling. She thought about her parents' words, about the kids at school, about the way her skin made people stare. Somewhere, deep down, she knew there was a story she didn't understand yet, a story about where she came from and why she was here. Outside, the crickets chirped, and the town settled into sleep. But for Amara, a seed of curiosity had been planted, one that would grow with her, waiting for the day she'd learn the truth. The glow in the dark stars on Amara's ceiling seemed to blur as she lay awake, her small hands clutching the edge of her blanket. It was late, the house quiet, except for the soft creak of the bunk bed where Lily slept above her. Willow Creek was fast asleep, but Amara's mind was racing. The words from Recess, "You don't belong with them," echoed like a song she couldn't stop hearing. She wanted to believe her parents, that she was their daughter, that love was enough. But the question burned, why was she different? Morning came too soon, sunlight spilling through the curtains. Amara dragged herself out of bed, her usual bounce gone. Lily, already dressed in a pink t-shirt and jeans, was brushing her hair at their shared mirror. "You look sleepy," Lily said, tilting her head. "Bad dreams?" Amara shook her head, forcing a smile. "Just thinking." "About what?" Lily asked, tossing her brush onto the dresser. Amara hesitated. She didn't want to worry Lily, but the words from school felt too heavy to carry alone. "Just stuff," she mumbled, pulling on her favorite red sneakers. Lily frowned, but didn't push. She grabbed Amara's hand, tugging her toward the kitchen. "Come on, Mom's making pancakes." At the breakfast table, David was sipping coffee, his firefighter jacket slung over a chair. Laura flipped pancakes at the stove, humming softly. The smell of maple syrup filled the air, and for a moment, Amara felt safe, like nothing could touch her here. But as she poked at her food, her thoughts drifted back to Tommy and Jenny's words. "You okay, sweetheart?" Laura asked, setting a plate in front of her. "You're quiet today." Amara nodded, not meeting her eyes. David glanced at Laura, a silent question passing between them. They'd seen this look before, Amara retreating into herself when something was wrong. "School." "Okay?" David tried, his voice gentle. "Yeah," Amara said quickly, too quickly. Lily shot her a look but kept eating, her fork scraping the plate. After breakfast, the girls grabbed their backpacks and headed to Willow Creek Elementary, a short walk through tree-lined streets. The schoolyard was alive with kids running, shouting, swinging on monkey bars. Amara and Lily dropped their bags by the fence and joined a game of tag. But Amara's heart wasn't in it. She kept scanning the crowd, half expecting Tommy or Jenny to pop up. They did, just before the bell. Tommy, with his messy red hair, sidled up as Amara and Lily sat on the swings. Jenny was with him, her arms crossed, a smirk on her face. "Hey, Amara," Tommy said loud enough for others to hear. "Still pretending those white folks are your parents?" Amara froze, her hands tightening on the swing's chains. Lily jumped up, her cheeks red. "Shut up, Tommy. You don't know anything." "I know she's not their kid," Tommy said, shrugging. "My dad says orphans get picked up by people who feel sorry for them." Jenny nodded. "Yeah, and white people don't have black kids. It's impossible." The words hit Amara like a slap. Her throat burned, and her eyes stung with tears she didn't want to show. She stood, her small fists clenched. "They are my parents," she shouted, her voice shaking. "You're wrong." "Then why don't you look like them?" Jenny taunted, stepping closer. "Face it, you're just adopted." A small crowd gathered, kids whispering, some giggling. Amara's chest heaved, her breath coming fast. Lily grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away. "Ignore them," she hissed. "They're jerks." But Amara couldn't move. The word adopted echoed in her mind, unfamiliar but heavy. Was that why she was different? Did her parents choose her, like picking a puppy from a shelter? The thought made her stomach twist. Mrs. Thompson's whistle cut through the noise, signaling the start of class. The crowd scattered, Tommy and Jenny smirking as they ran off. Amara stood rooted, tears spilling down her cheeks. Lily hugged her tight, her own eyes wet. "Don't listen to them," she whispered. "You're my sister." Amara nodded, wiping her face, but the hurt didn't fade. All through class she barely heard Mrs. Thompson's lesson about shapes. She doodled in her notebook, drawing herself with David, Laura, and Lily, but the lines felt wrong, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. At recess, Amara sat alone under a tree, her knees pulled to her chest. Lily tried to coax her into a game, but Amara shook her head. "I just want to sit," she said, her voice small. Lily plopped down beside her, picking at the grass. "Tommy's dumb," she said. "He doesn't know what he's talking about." "But what if he's right?" Amara asked, her voice barely audible. "What if I'm not really yours?" Lily's eyes widened. "You're mine," she said fiercely. "You're my sister and Mom and Dad's kid. Doesn't matter what you look like." Amara wanted to believe her, but the doubt clung like a shadow. When the school day ended, the girls walked home, Lily chattering about a new art project, Amara silent. The familiar streets of Willow Creek felt different now, like they were hiding secrets. At home, Laura was in the kitchen prepping dinner. David was at the fire station, his shift running late. The girls dropped their backpacks by the door, and Lily ran to grab a snack. Amara lingered, watching Laura chop carrots, her heart pounding. She couldn't wait any longer. "Mom?" Amara said, stepping closer. "Can I ask you something?" Laura turned, wiping her hands on a towel, her smile warm. "Of course, honey. What's up?" Amara took a deep breath, her hands twisting together. "Why don't I look like you and Dad? The kids at school said I'm not your real kid, that I'm adopted." Laura's smile faltered, her eyes softening with pain. She knelt in front of Amara, taking her hands. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, her voice thick. "Who said that?" "Tommy and Jenny," Amara mumbled, tears welling again. "They said white people can't have black kids. Is it true?" Lily, munching on an apple, stopped mid-bite, her eyes darting between them. The kitchen felt too quiet, the clock ticking loudly on the wall. Laura pulled Amara into a hug, holding her tight. "You're our daughter," she said firmly. "Nothing anyone says can change that." "But why am I different?" Amara pressed, pulling back to look at her. "Please, Mom, tell me." Laura's eyes filled with tears, and she glanced at Lily, then back at Amara. "Wait for Dad to get home," she said softly. "We'll talk about it together, okay? I promise." Amara nodded, but her heart sank. The promise felt like a delay, not an answer. Lily slipped her hand into Amara's, squeezing it. "It's gonna be okay," she said, her voice small but sure. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, David's truck pulled into the driveway. Amara sat on the living room couch, Lily beside her, their stuffed animals piled around them like a fortress. Laura met David at the door, whispering quickly. His face tightened, and he nodded, his eyes finding Amara's. "Hey, kiddo," he said, sitting across from her, his voice gentle. "Mom says you've got some big questions." Amara's throat felt dry, but she nodded. "I want to know why I'm different," she said, her voice trembling. "Why don't I look like you?" David and Laura exchanged a look, heavy with years, of love and fear. They'd hoped to wait, to let Amara grow a little more before telling her the truth, but her eyes, wide and searching, left no room for waiting. "All right," David said, leaning forward, his hands clasped. "It's time you knew the whole story." The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the truth that would change everything. The living room felt smaller than usual, the soft glow of the lamp casting shadows on the walls. Amara sat on the couch, her small hands clasped tightly in her lap, her brown eyes locked on David. Lily was curled up beside her, clutching a stuffed bunny, her blonde hair spilling over the cushion. Laura knelt on the rug, her face pale but steady, while David leaned forward in his chair, his rough hands clasped like he was holding the weight of the world. The clock ticked loudly, each second, stretching as Amara waited for the truth about why she looked different. David cleared his throat, his voice low but warm. "Amara, you asked why your skin's different from ours. It's because you came to us in a special way." Amara's brow furrowed, her heart thumping. "What do you mean?" Laura reached for her hand, squeezing gently. "You're our daughter, sweetheart, but we didn't give birth to you. We chose you because we loved you from the moment we saw you." Lily's eyes widened, but she stayed quiet, her bunny pressed to her chest. Amara's breath hitched. "You mean I'm adopted?" David nodded, his eyes soft. "Yeah, kiddo. But that doesn't make you any less ours. Let me tell you how it happened." He leaned back, his gaze distant, like he was stepping into a memory. "It was 2008, back when your mom and I were firefighters in Cleveland. We got a call one night, a pop. House was on fire bad, flames everywhere, smoke so thick you couldn't see. When we got there, people were shouting, trying to help." Laura's voice trembled as she picked up the story. "There was a couple in the house, a mom and dad. They had a baby, you, Amara. The fire was too big and they couldn't get out. But they did everything to save you." David's jaw tightened, his hands clenching. "The dad pushed through the smoke, holding you tight. He handed you to me through a window, begging me to keep you safe. I promised him I would. Then the roof started collapsing, and they didn't make it." Amara's eyes filled with tears, her small body trembling. "My real parents, they died." Laura pulled her close, stroking her curls. "They were your first parents, honey, and they loved you so much. They gave you to us so you'd be safe." Lily's voice was small. "So, Amara's parents were heroes." David smiled, a tear slipping down his cheek. "Yeah, Lily, they were, and we wanted to honor that by giving Amara a home." Amara wiped her eyes, her voice shaky. "What were their names?" "Michael and Aisha," Laura said softly. Michael was a teacher, and Aisha worked at a library. They were kind, good people. We didn't know them long, but we could tell. They loved you more than anything. The names felt strange to Amara, like pieces of a puzzle she didn't know how to fit. Michael and Aisha, her first parents. She tried to picture them, but all she saw was fire and smoke. Her chest ached. A mix of sadness and something else. Gratitude, maybe, for the people who'd saved her. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Amara asked, looking between David and Laura. David sighed, rubbing his neck. "We wanted to wait till you were older, till you could understand. But you're smart, Amara. You deserve the truth." Lily scooted closer, wrapping her arms around Amara. "You're still my sister," she said fiercely. "I don't care what anyone says." Amara hugged her back, her tears soaking Lily's shirt. "I know," she whispered. "You're my sister, too." Laura joined the hug, her arms encircling both girls. David watched, his heart full but heavy. He'd carried that night in Cleveland for years, the weight of the promise he'd made to Michael, the fear of not being enough for Amara. But seeing his girls together, he knew they'd done right by her. The rest of the evening passed quietly. David and Laura tucked the girls into bed, reading them a story about a brave little bear. Amara listened, but her mind was elsewhere, spinning with thoughts of Michael and Aisha. As Laura kissed her forehead, Amara grabbed her hand. "Do you have a picture of them?" she asked. Laura's face fell. "No, sweetheart. The fire, it took everything. But we'll tell you all we know whenever you want." Amara nodded, settling into her pillow. Lily's soft snores filled the bunk above, a familiar comfort. But sleep didn't come easy. Amara stared at the glow in the dark stars, imagining Michael and Aisha watching her from somewhere far away. She felt sad, but also loved, like she belonged to two families now. The next morning, Amara woke with a new determination. She climbed down from her bunk, careful not to wake Lily, and tiptoed to the kitchen. David was there, sipping coffee, his firefighter jacket slung over a chair. He smiled when he saw her. "Early bird, huh?" he said, ruffling her curls. "Dad," Amara said, climbing onto a stool, "can I learn more about Michael and Aisha, like where they lived?" David's smile softened. "Sure, kiddo. We don't know much, but we'll help you find out. Maybe when you're a bit older, we can look together." Amara nodded, her heart lifting. She didn't know what she was looking for, but the idea of knowing her first parents felt important, like a piece of her she needed to find. At school, things weren't easier. Tommy and Jenny were still there, whispering during recess, but Amara held her head higher. When Jenny smirked and said, "Told you were adopted?" Amara didn't cry. She looked her in the eye and said, "Yeah, I am. And my parents chose me. That's better than anything." Lily beamed, grabbing her hand. "That's my sister," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The other kids stared, some impressed, some unsure. Tommy shrugged and ran off to play, but Jenny's smirk faded. Amara felt a spark of pride, like she'd taken back something the teasing had stolen. Back home, Laura noticed the change. "You seem stronger today," she said, brushing Amara's hair before bed. "I'm sad about Michael and Aisha," Amara admitted. "But I'm happy I have you and Dad and Lily. Is that okay?" Laura hugged her tight. "It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's perfect." As the days passed, Amara carried her new truth like a secret treasure. She'd draw pictures of Michael and Aisha, imagining them smiling at her. Lily would add rainbows to the drawings, saying, "They're in heaven watching us." The sisters grew closer, their bond a shield against the world's questions. But deep down, Amara's curiosity grew. She wanted to know more about her first parents, not just their names, but their lives, their home, the place where her story began. She didn't know how to find it, not yet, but the seed was planted, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Outside, the Ohio sky stretched wide, stars twinkling over Willow Creek. For now, Amara was a little girl with two families loved beyond measure, ready to grow into the questions that shaped her heart. The stars over Willow Creek twinkled like they were whispering secrets, and Amara, now 12 years old, often gazed at them from her bedroom window, wondering if Michael and Aisha, her first parents, were up there watching. It was 2020, and the small Ohio town hadn't changed much. Same quiet streets, same familiar faces. But Amara had. She was taller now, her curls longer, her brown eyes sharper, carrying a quiet strength forged by the truth she'd learned 7 years ago. She was adopted, loved fiercely by David and Laura, but tied to a past she was just starting to explore. In the bunk bed across the room, Lily, also 12, was sprawled out, her blonde hair a mess, a comic book open on her chest. The sisters were still inseparable, sharing everything, clothes, secrets, even the occasional argument over who got the last cookie. Their room was a mix of their personalities. Amara's side had drawings of stars and books about space, while Lily's was covered in soccer posters and glittery stickers. "Amara, you still awake?" Lily mumbled, her voice sleepy. "Yeah," Amara said, turning from the window. "Just thinking." "About what?" Lily sat up, rubbing her eyes. Amara hesitated, then crossed the room and climbed onto Lily's bunk. "Michael and Aisha," she said softly. "I wonder what they were like, what they'd think of me." Lily scooted over, making room. "They'd think you're awesome," she said, grinning. "You're like the smartest kid in 7th grade." Amara smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I wish I knew more about them, like what they looked like or what they loved." Lily nodded, her face serious. "Want to ask Mom and Dad again? Maybe they remember something new." Amara shook her head. "They told me everything, about the fire, how they saved me, but it's not enough. I want to know where I came from." The sisters sat in silence, the weight of Amara's words settling between them. Lily grabbed her hand, squeezing it. "We'll figure it out," she said, "together." At Willow Creek Middle School, Amara and Lily were a team. They sat together in the cafeteria, played soccer on the same team, and helped each other with homework. But middle school wasn't always kind. Some kids still whispered about Amara's family, though the teasing had softened since kindergarten. A new girl, Mia, once asked, "How's it feel to be adopted?" During lunch, her tone more curious than mean. Amara shrugged, poking at her sandwich. "It's just my life. I've got Mom, Dad, and Lily. That's what matters." Mia nodded. "Impressed? That's cool. My cousin's adopted too." Lily, munching on chips, chimed in. "Amara's my sister, period. Anyone got a problem with that, they deal with me." The table laughed, and Amara felt a warmth in her chest. Lily always had her back, no matter what. But the questions about her past lingered, especially when she saw other kids with parents who looked like them. She didn't feel less loved, but she felt different, like a piece of her story was missing. At home, the Bennett's house was still a haven. David, now a fire captain, came home smelling of smoke, telling stories about his crew. Laura, working shorter shifts at the hospital, filled the kitchen with the smell of her famous lasagna. Family dinners were loud, full of laughter and debates over who'd win the next soccer game. But Amara was quieter these days, her mind often drifting to Cleveland, to the house where her life began. One Saturday, she sat at the kitchen table, sketching in her notebook. Her latest drawing showed a man and woman, their faces blurry, standing in front of a house. She'd labeled them Michael and Aisha. Laura noticed, leaning over her shoulder. "That's beautiful, honey," she said, her voice soft. "Thinking about them?" Amara nodded, setting her pencil down. "I want to know more about them, Mom, like where they lived, what they did. Do you think I could find their house someday?" Laura sat beside her, her eyes warm but cautious. "Maybe when you're older, we can look into it. Cleveland's a big place, and a lot's changed since 2008. But we'll help you, I promise." Amara traced the drawing with her finger. "I just want to feel close to them." Laura hugged her, her voice thick. "You carry them with you, Amara, right here." She touched her chest. "They'd be so proud of you." That afternoon, Amara and Lily sprawled on the living room rug, a library book about Black history open between them. Laura had suggested it, hoping to help Amara connect with her heritage. They read about inventors, artists, and leaders, Amara's eyes lighting up at names like Maya Angelou and George Washington Carver. "This is so cool," Amara said, turning a page. "Did you know Black people invented tons of stuff?" "Like what?" Lily asked, leaning closer. "Like the traffic light," Amara said, pointing to a picture. "And the first open-heart surgery. Michael and Aisha might have loved this stuff." Lily grinned. "Maybe they were super smart like you." Amara laughed, the sound easing the ache in her heart. Reading about her heritage made her feel closer to her first parents, like she was building a bridge to them. She started a new drawing, adding books and a chalkboard to her sketch of Michael and Aisha, imagining them as a teacher and librarian, just like Laura had said, but school wasn't always a safe place for her questions. One day, during a history project, a boy named Ethan muttered, "Why do you care so much about Black history? You're with a white family now." Amara's face burned, but she didn't back down. "It's my history," she said, her voice steady, "and I'm proud of it." Lily, sitting nearby, shot Ethan a glare. "Mind your own business, Ethan." The teacher, Mrs. Carter, overheard and stepped in. "Amara's right," she said firmly. "History belongs to everyone. Let's focus on your projects." Amara felt a surge of pride, but Ethan's words stung. They reminded her that some people saw her as an outsider, no matter how much she belonged with her family. She told Lily about it later, as they walked home through the crisp fall air. "Ethan's just jealous," Lily said, kicking a pile of leaves. "You're smarter than him." "It's not that," Amara said, her voice low. "It's like he thinks I shouldn't care about who I am." Lily stopped, turning to face her. "You're Amara, you're my sister, and you're awesome. Don't let dumb kids make you forget that." Amara smiled, hugging her. "Thanks, Lily." That night, Amara lay in bed, her notebook open to her latest drawing of Michael and Aisha. She'd added a little girl between them with curls like hers, smiling. She didn't know if it was accurate, but it felt right. As Lily's snores filled the room, Amara whispered to the stars outside, "I'm going to find you someday. I promise." Downstairs, David and Laura sat at the kitchen table, a rare quiet. Moment after the girls were asleep, Laura held a mug of tea, her face worried. "She's asking more about her birth parents," she said. "She's growing up so fast." David nodded, his hands wrapped around his coffee. "She's got a right to know. When she's ready, we'll help her look. Cleveland's not far." Laura sighed, her eyes distant. "I just hope she knows we love her, no matter what she finds." "She knows," David said, reaching for her hand. "She's our girl." As the weeks turned into months, Amara's curiosity grew, a quiet fire in her heart. She didn't know how to find Michael and Aisha's home, but she knew she would. Someday. For now, she had her family, David, Laura, and Lily, to hold her steady, to love her through the questions that shaped her young life. But the seed of her promise was taking root, and soon it would lead her on a journey she couldn't yet imagine. Amara's promise to find Michael and Aisha's home had grown from a quiet spark into a steady flame, burning brighter as she stood on the cusp of adulthood. It was June 2026, and Willow Creek, Ohio was alive with the hum of summer. Kids on bikes, fireflies blinking in the dusk, the distant crack of baseball bats. Amara was 18 now, her curls pulled into a high bun, her brown eyes sharp with purpose. She'd just graduated high school, her diploma tucked away in a drawer, her sights set on college in the fall. But before she left, there was one thing she had to do: find the place where her story began. In the Bennett's cozy living room, Amara sat cross-legged on the rug, a notebook open in her lap. Lily, also 18, sprawled beside her blonde, hair loose, a college brochure in her hands. The sisters were still a team, bound by years of shared secrets and dreams. Lily was headed to Ohio State for teaching, while Amara had her heart set on social work at Kent State. But today, college talk took a back seat. I'm going to Cleveland, Amara said, her voice steady but excited. I need to find Michael. Aunt Aisha's house. Lily sat up, her blue eyes wide. For real? Like, now? Amara nodded, flipping to a page in her notebook filled with scribbled notes, dates, addresses, fragments of stories David and Laura had shared. I've been thinking about it forever. I'm ready, Lily grinned, tossing the brochure aside. I'm coming with you, Amara laughed, nudging her. You don't have to. It might be a dead end. No way, Lily said, her tone fierce. You're my sister. We do this together. Downstairs, David and Laura were in the kitchen, the smell of coffee mixing with the summer breeze through the open window. David, his hair more gray than sandy now, was reading the paper while Laura sorted mail. When Amara and Lily bounded in, their energy filled the room. Mom, Dad, Amara started, clutching her notebook. I want to go to Cleveland, to find where Michael and Aisha lived. David lowered his paper, his face calm but searching. You sure about this, kiddo? It's been a long time. Things change. I know, Amara said, her voice firm, but I have to try. I need to know more about them. Laura set the mail down, her green eyes soft but worried. We'll support you, honey, but it might not be easy. That neighborhood, it was rough after the fire. Lily piped up, I'm going too. We'll be fine. David exchanged a look. With Laura, a mix of pride and concern. All right, he said finally. But you're not going alone. We'll drive you up. Make sure you're safe. Amara's heart lifted, and she hugged him tight. Thanks, Dad. The next Saturday, the family piled into David's old truck, the back loaded with snacks and a map. Cleveland was a 2-hour drive, the Ohio countryside rolling past in a blur of green fields and small towns. Amara sat in the front, her notebook open, while Lily and Laura chatted in the back about college dorms. David kept the radio low, humming along to a country song, but his grip on the wheel was tight. He remembered that night in 2008 too well. The numb fire, the screams, the weight of a tiny Amara in his arms. When they reached Cleveland, the city felt bigger than Amara expected, its streets busy with cars and noise. David navigated to the neighborhood he remembered, a mix of old brick houses and newer apartments. But as they turned onto what should have been Michael and Aisha's street, Amara's stomach sank. The block was unrecognizable. Where she'd pictured a small house with a porch, there was a gas station, a strip mall, and a shiny new community center. The fire had left no trace, and time had erased the rest. This can't be it, Amara said, her voice small, leaning out the window. David parked, pulling out an old map. This is the address, he said, his tone heavy. But it's been 18 years. Cities grow. Lily leaned forward, her hand on Amara's shoulder. Maybe we can ask around? Someone might know something. They got out of the truck, the summer heat pressing against them. Amara led the way, her notebook tucked under her arm, her eyes scanning the street for anything familiar. They stopped at the gas station, where a bored clerk shrugged when Amara asked about a house fire from 2008. Been here 5 years, he said. No idea. At the community center, a kind woman at the front desk listened but shook her head. This whole area got rebuilt after the recession, she said. Lots of old houses are gone. Sorry, hun. Amara's shoulders slumped, the weight of disappointment settling in. She'd imagined standing where her first parents had lived, feeling their presence, but all she felt was lost. Laura put an arm around her, her voice gentle. We can keep looking, sweetheart. There might be records somewhere. Amara nodded, but her heart wasn't in it. The drive had felt like a promise, and now it was slipping away. They walked back to the truck, the city noise fading behind them. Lily grabbed Amara's hand, squeezing it. We'll find something, she said. I know we will. Back in Willow Creek, the house felt quieter that night. Amara sat on her bed, staring at her notebook, the pages of notes now seeming pointless. Lily climbed onto the bed beside her, her voice soft. You okay? No, Amara admitted, her eyes wet. I thought I'd feel them there, you know? But it's like they're gone. Really gone. Lily hugged her tight, her blonde hair mixing with Amara's curls. "They're not gone. They're part of you. We just gotta find another way." Downstairs, David and Laura sat at the kitchen table, their voices low. "She's hurting," Laura said, her hands wrapped around a mug. "I wish we could give her more." David nodded, his jaw tight. "We can try the city archives. There might be something, old records, news clippings. She's not giving up, and neither should we." Laura reached for his hand, her eyes glistening. "She's so strong, like them." The next morning, Amara woke with a heavy heart, but a flicker of hope. Lily was already up, scrolling on her phone, a determined look on her face. "I found something," she said, holding up the screen. "Cleveland's got an online archive, news articles, property records. Maybe we can find Michael and Aisha's house." Amara sat up, her curiosity stirring. "You think so?" "Worth a shot," Lily said, grinning. "We're not done yet." They spent the day at the library, hunched over a computer searching for anything about the 2008 fire. Most links were dead ends, general news about Cleveland's housing crisis, unrelated fires. But then, buried in a scanned newspaper archive, Amara spotted it, a small article about a fatal house fire, naming Michael and Aisha Johnson as the victims. Her breath caught as she read their names, her fingers trembling on the mouse. "That's them," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. Lily leaned closer, reading over her shoulder. "It says they lived on Elmwood Avenue. That's where we were yesterday." Amara nodded, her heart racing. The article didn't say much, just that the fire was caused by faulty wiring, that the couple left behind a daughter. But it was something. A thread to hold on to. She printed the page, tucking it into her notebook like a treasure. Back home, Amara showed the article to David and Laura, her voice steady despite the tears. "I found them," she said. "Not the house, but their names. It's a start." David pulled her into a hug, his voice thick. "That's my girl. You don't give up." Laura smiled, brushing a tear from Amara's cheek. "We'll keep looking, honey." Together. As Amara climbed into bed that night, Lily already snoring above her, she held the printed article close. The search hadn't given her what she'd hoped, but it had given her something better. A connection, however small, to Michael and Aisha. She wasn't ready to stop, not yet. The stars outside her window seemed to shine a little brighter, urging her to keep going. The stars outside Amara's window had been her quiet companions for weeks, their steady glow a reminder of the promise she'd made to herself. It was July 2026, and Willow Creek, Ohio, was wrapped in the lazy heat of summer. Amara, 18, and brimming with determination, sat on her bed, the printed newspaper article about Michael and Aisha Johnson spread out before her. The words were worn from her fingers, tracing them, but they held her hope, a fragile thread connecting her to her first parents. Her failed trip to Cleveland had left her heart heavy, but the article was a lifeline, proof that Michael and Aisha had existed, that their story wasn't lost. In the bunk above, Lily stirred, her blonde hair spilling over the edge as she peeked down. "You're staring at that paper again," she said, her voice thick with sleep. "It's like midnight." Amara smiled, tucking the article into her notebook. "Can't help it. It's all I've got." Lily climbed down, landing, with a soft thud, and flopped beside her. "We'll find more," she said, nudging Amara's shoulder. "You're not giving up, right?" "Never," Amara said, her brown eyes fierce. "But I don't know where to start." Lily grabbed her phone, scrolling with purpose. "We start with what we know. Elmwood Avenue, the fire, their names. There's got to be more out there." Downstairs, the Bennett's kitchen was quiet, the hum of the fridge the only sound. David and Laura had gone to bed, but Amara and Lily tiptoed in, spreading their notes across the table. The article mentioned Michael was a teacher, Aisha a librarian. Amara jotted ideas, city records, old neighbors, maybe a school or library. Where they worked. Lily, ever practical, suggested checking online forums for Cleveland history buffs. "People love old stories," Lily said, typing on her phone. "Someone's got to remember something." The next morning, over breakfast, Amara shared their plan with David and Laura. David, sipping coffee, his firefighter jacket slung over a chair, listened closely. "You're serious about this," he said, his voice warm but cautious. "I am," Amara said, her notebook open. "The article's a start, but I need more. I want to know who they were." Laura, stirring oatmeal at the stove, turned with a soft smile. "We're proud of you, honey, but digging into the past, it can be hard. You sure you're ready?" Amara nodded, her curls bouncing. "I'm not a kid anymore. I can handle it," Lily grinned, stealing a piece of bacon from David's plate. "And I'm her backup. We got this." David chuckled, but his eyes were serious. "All right, I'll call the Cleveland Fire Department, see if they've got old reports. And your mom can check city records online." Laura sat beside Amara, her hand on her shoulder. "We're in this together, sweetheart." The next few days were a blur of effort. Amara and Lily spent hours at the Willow Creek Library, scrolling through digital archives on an ancient computer. David came through with a contact at the Cleveland Fire Department who emailed a brief report about the 2008 fire, faulty wiring, no survivors except an infant. It confirmed what Amara knew, but offered no new clues about Michael and Aisha's lives. Laura, meanwhile, searched property records, finding an old listing for a house on Elmwood Avenue, sold after the fire and demolished for redevelopment. "It's gone," she told Amara gently, showing her the record. "But the neighborhood's still there. Maybe someone remembers them." Amara's heart sank, but Lily was undeterred. "Let's go back," she said, her blue eyes bright. "We'll knock on doors, talk to people. Old folks love to chat." David and Laura agreed, but only if they came along. "Cleveland's not Willow Creek," David said, his tone firm. "We're not letting you two wander alone." The following weekend, the family loaded into David's truck again, the drive to Cleveland filled with nervous energy. Amara clutched her notebook, the article tucked inside, like a talisman. Lily played music on her phone, singing off-key to keep things light. Laura packed sandwiches, her quiet way of showing support, while David kept his eyes on the road, memories of that fiery night flickering in his mind. In Cleveland, the Elmwood Avenue neighborhood felt different this time. Not just a dead end, but a place with stories to tell. They parked near the community center, its bright sign a stark contrast to the faded houses nearby. Amara led the way, her heart pounding, as they knocked on doors. Most people were polite but unhelpful, new residents too young to remember 2008. A few shook their heads, saying the block had changed too much. But at the end of the street, an elderly woman answered, her gray hair in a neat bun, her eyes sharp behind thick glasses. "You're asking about the Johnsons?" she said, leaning on her cane. "Michael and Aisha?" Amara's breath caught. "Yes? You knew them?" The woman, Mrs. Carter, nodded, inviting them onto her porch. "They were my neighbors," she said, her voice warm with memory. "Good people. Michael helped my grandson with math, and Aisha brought me books from the library. Their little girl was just a baby." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "That was me," she said softly. "I'm their daughter." Mrs. Carter's face softened, and she reached for Amara's hand. "Oh, child, you've got Aisha's eyes." They talked for hours, the summer sun dipping low. Mrs. Carter shared stories, Michael's love of jazz, Aisha's knack for gardening, their joy at becoming parents. She didn't know much about the fire, only that it broke the neighborhood's heart. "They're buried at Lakeview Cemetery," she said finally. "Not far from here. I visit sometimes, leave flowers." Amara's heart raced, a mix of joy and ache. She'd found them, not their house, but their memory, their resting place. "Can you tell me where?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mrs. Carter drew a map on a napkin, her hand steady. "You go see them, sweetheart. They'd be proud of you." Back in the truck, Amara held the napkin like it was gold, tears streaming down her cheeks. Lily hugged her tight, her own eyes wet. "We did it," she whispered. "We found them." David and Laura watched from the front seat, their hearts full. "You're amazing, Amara," Laura said, her voice thick. "Both of you." David started the engine, his voice gruff. "We'll go to the cemetery tomorrow. For now, let's get some dinner." They stopped at a diner, the neon sign buzzing in the dusk. Over burgers and fries, Amara couldn't stop talking, her words spilling out. Michael's jazz records, Aisha's garden, the baby they'd loved. Lily listened, her smile wide, while David and Laura shared quiet glances, proud but bittersweet. They knew this was only the beginning of Amara's journey. That night, back in Willow Creek, Amara lay in bed, the napkin map on her nightstand. Lily's snores filled the bunk above, a familiar comfort, but Amara's mind was in Cleveland, with two graves she hadn't yet seen. She felt closer to Michael and Aisha than ever, their stories alive in her heart, but the thought of visiting. Their resting place was overwhelming. She whispered to the stars, "I'm coming to find you. Just wait for me." In the kitchen, David and Laura sat up late, the article and napkin map on the table. "She's so close," Laura said, her voice soft, "but I'm scared for her. What if it's too much?" David took her hand, his eyes steady. "She's strong, like them, and she's got us. We'll get her through." As the summer night stretched on, Amara's promise felt within reach, a step away from the truth she'd chased for so long. The cemetery was waiting, and with it, a chance to meet her first parents in the only way she could. The summer sun was just peeking over the horizon, casting a soft golden light across Willow Creek. Amara woke early, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and hope. It was a Sunday in July 2026, and today was the day she'd visit Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, the place where Michael and Aisha Johnson, her first parents, were laid to rest. The napkin map from Mrs. Carter, the kind neighbor who'd known them, sat on her nightstand, its edges worn from her fingers, tracing the lines. She'd spent the night whispering promises to the stars, and now the moment was here. Lily stirred in the bunk above, her blonde hair a tangled mess, as she leaned over the edge. "You ready for today?" she asked, her voice groggy but warm. Amara nodded, pulling her curls into a tight bun. "Yeah? Scared, but ready." Lily climbed down, landing with a soft thud, and hugged her. "You're going to be okay. I'm right here." Downstairs, the kitchen was already alive. David was packing a cooler with water and snacks, his firefighters' calm steadying the air. Laura, in a simple blue dress, was folding a blanket for the trip. The Bennetts had insisted on coming, their love a quiet strength Amara leaned into. She slipped the napkin map into her notebook, her hands trembling slightly. "Got everything?" David asked, slinging the cooler over his shoulder. Amara patted her notebook, her voice soft. "Yeah, let's go." The drive to Cleveland felt shorter this time, the Ohio fields blurring past under a bright morning sky. Lily played a playlist of upbeat songs, trying to lighten the mood, but Amara stayed quiet, her eyes on the horizon. David glanced at her in the rearview mirror, his heart aching for the little girl he'd carried out of a fire 18 years ago. Laura reached back, squeezing Amara's hand, her smile gentle. Lakeview Cemetery was vast, its rolling hills dotted with ancient trees and weathered headstones. The air smelled of fresh-cut grass and earth, a peaceful contrast to the city's hum. David parked near the entrance, and the family stepped out, the weight of the moment settling over them. Amara clutched her notebook, the napkin map, guiding her like a compass. Mrs. Carter's directions were clear. Follow the main path, turn left at the oak grove, look for a small section near a willow tree. Amara led the way, her steps slow but sure, Lily by her side. David and Laura followed, giving her space but staying close. The cemetery was quiet save for the rustle of leaves and the distant chirp of birds. "There," Amara said, her voice barely above a whisper, pointing to a willow tree drooping over a cluster of graves. Her heart raced as she approached, her eyes scanning the headstones. Then she saw them, two simple markers, side by side, etched with familiar names: Michael Johnson, 1978-2008, and Aisha Johnson, 1980-2008. Below their names, a single line. Read, "Beloved parents, forever in our hearts." Amara's knees buckled, and she sank to the grass, tears streaming down her face. "It's them," she whispered, her fingers brushing the cool stone. "I found you." Lily knelt beside her, her own eyes wet, wrapping an arm around her sister. "They're here," she said softly. "They've been waiting for you." David and Laura stood back, their hands clasped, watching their daughter meet her first parents. David's throat tightened, memories of that fiery night flooding back, the weight of Michael's trust, Aisha's desperate cry. Laura wiped a tear, her heart full of love and loss. Amara traced the names on the headstones, her voice trembling. "Hi, Michael. Hi, Aisha. I'm Amara, your daughter. I wish I could have known you." She paused, swallowing hard. "Dad. And Mom told me about you, how you saved me. I'm so thankful. I'm trying to make you proud." She pulled a small bouquet of daisies from her bag, ones she'd picked from the Bennett's garden, and placed them between the graves. "I'll come back," she promised. "I'll tell you everything." Lily added a single daisy, her voice soft. "Thanks for giving us Amara. She's the best." Amara smiled through her tears, hugging Lily tight. The sisters sat there for a long time, the summer breeze carrying their whispers. Amara felt a strange peace, like a piece of her heart had finally found its place. Michael and Aisha weren't just names anymore. They were real, their love woven into her life. David and Laura joined them, kneeling in the grass. "They were good people," David said, his voice rough. "I only met them once, but I'll never forget them." Laura touched Amara's shoulder. "You're their legacy, honey, and ours." Amara nodded, her tears slowing. "I feel them here," she said, "like they're happy I came." They stayed until the sun climbed higher, sharing stories, misses. Carter had told, Michael's jazz records, Aisha's garden, their laughter that lit up the neighborhood. Amara soaked it in, her notebook open, as she jotted down every detail. She wanted to carry their memory with her, to keep them close. Kaninum. The drive home, the truck was quieter, the weight of the cemetery lingering. Lily leaned against Amara, her head on her shoulder. "You did it," she said. "You found them." "Yeah," Amara said, her voice soft. "But I want to know more, their lives, their dreams." David glanced back, his eyes warm. "You will. Kiddo, you've got time." Laura turned in her seat, her smile proud. "We'll help you look. Maybe there's more out there. Friends? Family?" Amara nodded, her heart full but hungry for more. The graves had given her closure, but also a new question. Who else knew Michael and Aisha? Were there cousins, aunts, people who could tell her their stories? The thought sparked a new fire in her chest. Back in Willow Creek, the house felt warmer, like it held a new piece of Amara's story. She taped the napkin map to her wall, next to her drawings of Michael and Aisha. Lily flopped onto her bed, grinning. "You're like a detective now," she teased. Amara laughed, tossing a pillow at her. "Maybe. But I'm not done yet." That night over dinner, Amara shared everything, the graves, the daisies, the peace she'd felt. David and Laura listened, their eyes shining with pride. "You're so strong," Laura said, squeezing her hand. "Stronger than you know." David nodded, his voice gruff. Michael and Aisha would be proud, just like we are. After dinner, Amara and Lily sat on the porch, the summer air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. The stars were out, brighter than ever, and Amara felt a connection to them, to her first parents. "I'm going to keep looking," she said, her voice steady. "There's more to their story." Lily leaned against her, her voice soft. "And I'll be right here, every step." Amara smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. The cemetery had been a milestone, a moment to meet Michael and Aisha in spirit. But her journey wasn't over. There were stories to uncover, lives to honor, and a future to build with the love of two families guiding her. As the crickets sang and the night deepened, Amara made a new promise, not just to Michael and Aisha, but to herself. She'd live a life that carried their love forward, a life that made every sacrifice worthwhile. Amara's promise to carry Michael and Aisha's love forward felt like a vow etched in her heart, a guiding light as summer faded into fall. It was September 2026 in Willow Creek, Ohio, and the town was draped in shades of gold and crimson, leaves crunching underfoot. Amara, now 18, stood under the oak tree in the Bennett's backyard, her notebook tucked under her arm. She'd visited her first parents' graves, heard their stories from a neighbor, and felt their presence in her soul. But she wasn't done. She wanted their legacy and her own to mean something more. Inside, the house smelled of Laura's apple pie, a Sunday tradition. Lily, sprawled on the living room rug, was sketching a soccer field for her college portfolio. At 19, her blonde hair was shorter, her freckles brighter from summer sun. David, his graying hair hidden under a baseball cap, was fixing a leaky faucet in the kitchen while Laura sorted photos for a family album. The Bennett's home was still a haven, its warmth wrapping Amara like a blanket. She stepped inside, her voice steady but excited. "I have an idea," she said, sitting at the kitchen table. "I want to start a scholarship for kids like me, adopted or in foster care, in Michael and Aisha's name." David looked up, a wrench in his hand, his eyes warm. "That's big, kiddo. Tell us more." Lily bounded in, dropping her sketchbook. "A scholarship? That's awesome." Amara opened her notebook, revealing pages of notes, ideas, budgets, names. "I've been thinking about it since the cemetery," she said. "Michael was a teacher, Aisha a librarian. They loved helping people. I want to honor them by helping kids who need a chance, like you gave me." Laura sat beside her, her green eyes shining. "It's beautiful, honey. How can we help?" Amara's heart swelled. "I was hoping you'd say that. I need help setting it up, finding sponsors, talking to schools. I want it to be real, something that lasts." Lily grinned, grabbing a pen. "I'm in. We could make flyers, maybe a website." David nodded, setting his wrench down. "I know folks at the fire station who'd chip in, and the community center might host a fundraiser." The family dove into the plan, their voices blending with laughter and ideas. Amara felt a surge of purpose, like she was weaving Michael and Aisha's love into something new. Over the next few weeks, they worked tirelessly. Amara and Lily designed flyers, their bold colors catching eyes around Willow Creek. David rallied local businesses, his firefighter's charm winning donations. Laura connected with social workers, ensuring the scholarship would reach kids in need. By December, the Michael and Aisha Johnson Scholarship was born, offering $1,000 a year to an adopted or foster child pursuing education. The first award ceremony was held at the Willow Creek Community Center, a small room packed with neighbors, teachers, and friends. Amara stood at a podium, her curls loose, a simple black dress making her look older than her years. Lily sat in the front row, beaming, with David and Laura beside her, their hands clasped. "Thank you for being here," Amara said, her voice clear despite the butterflies in her stomach. "This scholarship is for my first parents, Michael and Aisha Johnson. They gave me life, and their love saved me. I was adopted by David and Laura Bennett, who gave me a home, and I have a sister, Lily, who's my best friend. This is for them, too, and for every kid who needs to know they're enough." The crowd clapped, some wiping tears. Amara presented the first award to a shy 15-year-old named Jamal, whose foster parents hugged him tight. She saw herself in him, hopeful, searching, loved. As the ceremony ended, people crowded around, praising her work, but Amara's eyes were on her family, their pride brighter than any spotlight. Later that spring, Amara returned to Lakeview Cemetery, a ritual now. She brought daisies, placing them on Michael and Aisha's graves, the willow tree's branches swaying in the breeze. "We did it," she told them, her voice soft. "Your scholarship's helping kids. I hope you're proud." Lily, who'd come along, added her own daisy. You guys would love her, she said, smiling. She's kind of a big deal. Amara laughed, her heart light. The graves were no longer just a place of loss, but a place of connection, where she could share her life with her first parents. She felt whole, carrying two families in her heart, Michael and Aisha's sacrifice, David and Laura's love, Lily's unwavering loyalty. Back in Willow Creek, the Bennetts marked the moment, with a quiet ceremony of their own. Under the oak tree they placed a small plaque engraved with, "In memory of Michael and Aisha Johnson, forever part of our family." Beside it, a photo of the couple, imagined from Amara's drawings, sat in a simple frame. Amara touched the plaque, her fingers lingering on the words. "They're here with us," she said, her voice thick. "All of them." David pulled her into a hug, his voice gruff. "You've done something amazing, Amara. For them, for you." Laura wrapped her arms around them, tears in her eyes. "We're so proud, sweetheart." Lily, ever the spark, grinned. "Yeah, but don't get a big head, okay?" Amara laughed, shoving her playfully. The sisters ran through the yard, their laughter echoing like it had when they were 5, chasing each other under the same oak tree. Some things never changed. As Amara prepared for college, her future felt bright. She'd study social work, driven to help kids like Jamal, like herself. The scholarship grew, with more donations each year, its impact spreading beyond Willow Creek. Amara kept visiting the cemetery, telling Michael and Aisha about her life, her classes, her dreams, her family. Lily joined her sometimes, their bond a constant through every change. One evening, under the stars, Amara sat on the porch with Lily, the air cool with autumn's promise. "I used to feel like I was missing something," Amara said, her voice soft. "But now I have everything. 2 sets of parents, you, this life." Lily leaned against her, her voice warm. "You're stuck with me, you know. Forever." Amara smiled, her heart full. She'd found her first parents not in a house, but in stories, in graves, in the love that shaped her. She'd found herself, too, a girl of 2 worlds, stronger. For it. Michael and Aisha's sacrifice, David and Laura's devotion, Lily's fierce loyalty, they were her foundation, her legacy. The stars shone bright over Willow Creek, and Amara knew wherever she went, she'd carry them all with her. A family beyond color, bound by love that would never fade. Wow, what a journey. Amara's story is all about love, family, and finding where you belong, and we hope it touched your heart. If you love this tale, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments. What did you think of Amara and Lily's bond? Have you ever searched for a piece of your own story? Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next story. It's going to be another emotional ride. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.